whatever. Part 4 ga o'tamiz. One word only deyishdi. Faqatgina bittagina so'z ishlashimiz kerak. Eucalyptus tree in Australia. Demak, eucalypt tree haqida gapirishayotganmiz. Muhimligi importance, it provides something and food for a wide range of species. Demak, ko'plab hayvon turlariga food bilan nimadir berar ekan. Topishimiz kerak. It leaves provide which is used to make a disinfectant. Demak, uni barglari disinfectant, dezinfeksionni anaqa qanaqadir substance tayyorlashga yordam beradigan, ishlatiladigan nimadir berar ekan. Cause diseases, Mandela's yellows cause lime used for making was observed. Demak, shunda nimadir tayyorlashga ishlatiladigan lime absorb qilinar ekan. Take it necessary iron through the roots, doesn't matter. Bell miner cause feed on eucalyptus trees. Nimadir feed on degan oziqlanadigan, nimadir eucalyptlarni leaflarini yeb qo'yar ekan. Qisqasi tushunarli. Bushfires. High frequency bushfires and vegetation. Demak, high frequency bushfirelar, tez bo'ladigan, tez sodir bo'lgan bushfirelar vegetationga sabab bo'lar ekan, impact bor ekan, влиянияsi bor ekan, growth of nimadir o'sishiga sabab bo'lar ekan. Make more available for trees. Demak, treelar uchun, daraxtlar uchun nimadir berar ekan, dostupniy narsa berar ekan. Maintain the quality of the nimadir kachesini ushlab o'tirar ekan. To'g'risi, bilmayman. Low frequency bushfires result in growth of something rainforest. Qanaqadir, demak, low frequency tez bo'lmaydigan bushfirelar qanaqadir rainforestlarni growthga o'sishiga sabab bo'lar ekan. Qanaqa bo'lishi mumkin? Good rainforest, beautiful rainforest adjective bo'ladi. Something ecosystem. Bu ham adjective. Ideal environment for the of the bell miner. Demak, bell miner nimasidir uchun ideal environment ekan. Topamiz, savollarni javob berishga harakat qilamiz.
Part 4. You will hear a student giving a presentation about a type of tree known as the eucalyptus, which is common in Australia. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
We don't have time.
Then I'm going to...
We don't have time.
Today, I'm going to talk about the eucalyptus tree. This is a very common tree here in Australia, where it's also sometimes called the gum tree. First, I'm going to talk about why it's important. Then I'm going to describe some problems it faces at present. Right, well, the eucalyptus tree is an important tree for lots of reasons. For example, it gives shelter to creatures like birds and bats. And these and other species also depend on it for food.
Shelter dedi, food dedi. Shelter degani boshpana degani. Shelter berar ekan, food berar ekan. O'qib olamiz. Mana, right, well, eucalyptus doesn't matter. Well, eucalyptus tree is an important tree for lots of reasons. For example, it gives shelter to creatures like birds and bats, and these other species depend on it for food, particularly the nectar from its flowers. Doesn't matter.
Particularly the nectar from its flowers. So it supports biodiversity. It's useful to us humans too, because we can kill germs with a disinfectant made from oil extracted from eucalyptus leaves.
O'z ko'rganingizdek, eucalyptus leavesdan olingan oil bilan baklarni o'ldiramiz. Oil. Damn it, man. Oil. O'qiymiz. So it's useful for us humans too, because we can kill germs with a disinfectant made from oil extracted from eucalyptus leaves. I mean, leaflardan, eucalyptlarni leaflardan, barglardan olingan oil. Extract degani o'sha izluchon degani, o'sha narsa bilan biz o'sha narsani o'ldirar ekanmiz. Keyingi.
The eucalyptus grows all over Australia, and the trees can live for up to 400 years. So it's alarming that all across the country, numbers of eucalyptus are falling because the trees are dying off prematurely. So what are the reasons for this? One possible reason is disease. As far back as the 1970s, the trees started getting a disease called Mundula yellows. The tree's leaves would gradually turn yellow, then the tree would die. It wasn't until 2004 that they found the cause of the problem was lime, or calcium hydroxide, to give it its proper chemical name, which was being in the construction of roads. The line was being
roads. O'sha yo'llarni qurishga ishlatilayotgan roadlar abzor qilayotgan shekilli. Ko'ramiz.
washed away into the ground and affecting the roots of the eucalyptus tree.
Rootlarni qilayotgan, effekt qilayotgan qisas o'qiymiz buni. Tinchgina. Mana hope they found the cause of the problem was the lime calcium hydroxide to give its proper chemical name, which was being used in the construction, making synonym of roads. Job lime was being washed away into the ground, affecting the roots of the eucalyptus trees. Doesn't matter. Job roads bo'ladi. Tamom. O'qib olinglar, tarjima qilib olinglar kerak bo'lsa.
Trees nearby. What it was doing was preventing the trees from sucking up the iron they needed for healthy growth. When this was injected back into the affected trees, they immediately recovered. But this problem only affected a relatively small number of trees. By 2000, huge numbers of eucalyptus were dying along Australia's east coast of a disease known as bell minor associated dieback. The bell minor is a bird, and the disease seems to be common where there are high populations of bell miners. Again, it's the leaves of the trees that are affected. What happened?
Birds bo'ladi bu. Qushlar yeb qo'yar ekan. Ana eukaliptni leaflarini.
Is that insects settle on the leaves and eat their way round them.
Insects ekan javob. Insects yeb qo'yar ekan. Insects yer ekan. Tushunarli.
Destroying them as they go, and at the same time, they secrete a solution which has sugar in it. The bell minor birds really like this solution, and in order to get as much as possible, they keep away other creatures that might try to get it. So these birds and insects flourish at the expense of other species. O'zgarsa javob insects qisqasi o'qib olinglar. Random mana shu gap o'qib tarjima qilib olinglar. Google ga tashlab olinglar, barga topinglar. Google ga tashlab olinglar. Bo'ldi. And eventually so much damage is done to the leaves that the tree dies. But experts say that trees can start looking sick before any sign of bell minor associated dieback. So it looks as if the problem might have another explanation. One possibility is that it's to do with the huge bushfires that we have in Australia. A theory proposed over 40 years ago by ecologists.
Bitta ma'lumot kelib qoldi shu qismda. O'z ko'rganingizdek, e'tibor berish kerak. Tahlil mana bushfire dedi. Bushfire aniqlanib qo'yganim uchun, bushfire muhimligini tushunganim uchun, bushfire tegib qo'ygan, bushfire kutayotganlar. Masalan, ko'pchilik o'quvchi nima bo'ladi? Masalan, tasavvur qiling, o'z so'ri o'tkazib yubordi. Insegligini bilmadingiz, o'tkazib yubordi yoki bilmaysiz qayoqdaligingizda, chunki vokabulingiz kuchli emas, listeningiz kuchli emas, bilmaysiz qayoqda yurganini prosta eshitib o'tiribsiz. Agar qarab qo'ysangiz, masalan, bushfire degan joylarga qarab qo'ysangiz, eng muhim qismdagi masalan, bushfire kelsa, men o'zimga qaytib olaman, tiklanib olaman. Bu bushfire orqali o'sha bushfire wow, mana 36-35 ga yaqinlashib qolibmiz deysizda, o'zingizni qayta tiklab olasiz shu orqali. Shu gapni aytmoqchi bo'lganim.
William Jackson is that the frequency of bushfires in a particular region affects the type of vegetation that grows there. If there are very frequent bushfires in a region, this encourages grass to grow afterwards.
Resulting in the growth of grass bo'ladi. O'tda o'sishiga sabab bo'lar ekan. Qayoqda endi bu? Mana. Frequent bushfires, very frequent degani high frequency synonymi. This would encourage degani qo'llab-quvvatlaydi. Growth afterwards. Grass bo'ladi javob. Tamom.
While if the bushfires are rather less frequent, this results in the growth of eucalyptus forests. So, why is this? Why do fairly frequent bushfires actually support the growth of eucalyptus? Well, one reason is that the fire stops the growth of other species which would consume water needed by eucalyptus tree.
Water. Agar yonib ketsa, ular water consume qilmaydi-da, eucalyptusga kerak bo'lgan water qoladi o'sha yerda. O'qiymiz mana. So one reason, mana because yoki why degan javobga qarashingiz kerak. Why? Desa, because why deyaptimi? Demak because aytyapti deyishingiz kerak. One reason mana birinchi reason turibdi. Is that fire stops the growth of other species? Boshqalarning o'sishini to'xtatadi. Which will consume the water needed for eucalyptus trees. Bu tamam. Water bo'ladi javob.
And there's another reason. If these other quick-growing species of bushes and plants are allowed to proliferate, they harm the eucalyptus in another way by affecting the composition of the soil and
soil. So, agar ular tez o'lsa, soilda anasi kachchasi yaxshi turadi.
removing nutrients from it. So some bushfires are actually essential for the eucalyptus to survive as long as they are not too frequent. In fact, there's evidence that Australia's
Mana o'qidim. The harm the eucalyptus in another way, affecting the composition of soil, removing nutrients from it. Qisqasi shu.
indigenous people practiced regular burning of bushland for thousands of years before the arrival of the Europeans. But since Europeans arrived on the continent, the number of bushfires has been strictly controlled. Now, scientists believe that this reduced frequency of bushfires to low levels has led to what's known as dry rainforest.
Dry rainforest.
Which seems an odd name, as usually we associate tropical rainforest with wet conditions. And what's special about this type of rainforest? Well, unlike tropical rainforest, which is a rich ecosystem, this type of ecosystem is usually a simple one. It has very thick, dense vegetation, but not much variety of species.
Simple ecosystem bo'ladi.
The vegetation provides lots of shade, so one species that does find it ideal is the bell miner bird, which builds its nests in the undergrowth there.
Nest bo'ladi. Nestlari uchun zo'r. Yeah, here. O'qib chiqinglar, tamom bo'ldi. Shu bilan bugungi darsimiz o'z oxiriga yetadi. Bu videolarni foydali bo'ladi degan umiddamiz. Men sizlarni ko'p o'qimaysizlar degan dangasasizlar degandan xafa bo'lmanglar. O'zi shunaqa. Agar realida masalan bitta gap gapiraman, lisinaga yetib plus olmayapsizmi? O'zi 1.32-30 da chiqmayaptimi? Realni dangasa ish yoqmas, bo'lmagan odam ekansiz. Realni. O'sha gapdan mana shu sizlarni gapirib o'rganman. So'kinglar meni, yomon odamsan, bunaqasan, bo'lmaysan, o'zing o'shunaqasan deb gapiringlar. Lekin agar ana shu gapimdan keyin kimdir uyalib, men shunchalik gapirib tashlayapti mana deb motivatsiya olsa, men realni xursand bo'laman. Qisqasi, o'qish boshlanglar, iltimos, tarjima qilish boshlanglar, o'rganish boshlanglar, so'zlarni boshlatinglar, yoki o'sha listeningdan nima chiqadi, realni ayniqsa nima chiqadi. Aytda 5,5-6 olib sharmanda bo'lib yurmaysizlar, hammani atrofida shuncha o'qidi, shunaqa rasvo ball chiqdi deb. O'sha uchun ham boshlaylar o'qishni, dangasalik qilmanglar. Hammaga xayr, sizlarni keyingi darslarda kutib qolamiz.